And it appears we are live. What's up, everybody? It's G Mr. Drew here to welcome you to another episode of the Andrew Gloshinsky Experience. This is going to be episode 288, continuing Inktober, continuing the Bayonetta concept art book study. And yeah, this is going to be a really short video. I actually wasn't going to stream today, but I was planning on drawing. And since I'm going to draw, I was like, you know what? Let me just stream it. I'm not going to really talk or say nothing. But what I wanted to focus on with this one is everything here is pretty much already laid out. I've already broke all this stuff down and given like close-ups of all of these things. The only thing that's new about this design is her head wrap and the ribbon being in her hair, where it wasn't present in the last design. It is here. So what I want to do is just like I did here to try to break down the connection with the suit with the headband is break down just the headband itself since it's clearly not attached to the suit. To see how that might work. So yeah, man, let's just jump into it. Let's see what's what.
Yeah, they just stayed.
Oh, damn. That's cool.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would say Rome.
I think it's just a vacation
Okay.
spot. Once you live there, you're just like, oh, what am I, Rome?
You mean a Roman?
Roman.
I love in The Sopranos, totally
It's like
unrelated.
in Rome, not like when you move to Rome for a year.
Remember in The Sopranos when they're shaking out that guy and he's like, what happened to the Romans? And Tony's like, you're looking at the motherfucker.
Oh, man.
Alright, last question here from Cody Stereo. We'll end on a Batman question for the Batman pod. Which
the
villains...
island where Andy Dufresne won at the end of Shawshank. That seems like a nice place.
Bergen Island.
Yeah.
That's where he went.
Did he?
Yeah, he said, my favorite director, Igmar Bergman. You gotta meet me there. He's like, damn, who's his favorite director again? Tarkovsky?
Girl, don't do it. I did it. And never mind.
Last question.
Imagine a Tarkovsky Island.
No, I wouldn't want to
It
go
would be
there.
the worst director's island to go visit.
Lynch. Just
Yeah.
be a whole...
No, I feel like it's just like,
It'd be very laid back.
it would be like a small section on the beach, but you just take acid.
Right.
And like, that's cool.
Lynch is a funny guy. Does
It would be
meditation
like-
every day, but smokes cigarettes.
Like, I'm like sure, like, obviously it would be a weird island, but I don't think you would ever, like, I don't think Lynch would do you like that. Like a Tarantino island would, like, scare me more.
Because it just blows up at the end of the day.
Yeah, just be like weird unnecessary shit going on. Like, it would
All
be
right.
too extra. Lynch, I think he'll give you
No sandals allowed.
he wouldn't do that to his people. It's like it's gonna get a little weird, but you'll be alright at the end of the day. Until it's not. Just kidding. This is a horror movie. So thank you, David Lynch.
Alright, final question. Cody Stereo, what other villains would you like to see in Matt Reeves' Batman universe?
Joker, baby. Nah.
He's, some people want him, other people don't. They're like, we've seen him too much, we've had too many versions of the Joker. I don't give a fuck. I want to see Matt Reeves as Joker.
Give me a Hugo Strange.
Or Hush.
Hush.
I think it would benefit them from using some of the, tertiary villains.
I think Hugo Strange is an interesting guy. He's always, I think, like, in some of the animations or the comics or the video games.
How about Deathstroke, right?
I tell you what, him, like, the way the Riddler matches him on, like, an intellectual level, seeing, like, someone, like a Deathstroke matching him on a physical level, I think that would be really cool.
Right, because then you check off two boxes with your first two movies. Like you said, you have Deathstroke, who is kind of the mirror image to Batman. Obviously, he uses his powers for his personal game as a
Or Hush
mercenary.
is just a natural mirror image of Batman.
No, Hush is literally the mirror image. So if you want
Talk
to...
about a fucking freaky psychopath.
He's got a lot of issues.
Dude. I'm just gonna make myself look like Batman or Bruce Wayne.
I imagine there's a lot of people out there that would want to do that.
Right, not a bad thing to do, but there's like reasoning for it. The Riddler matches him intellectually, the sequel matches Deathstroke matches him physically, and the third movie, just someone who just matches him.
It just matches him.
Just matches him.
Just, that's who he is.
You get two Pattinsons. Was it a little weird? Like something's off about him?
That could be really hot.
Two Pattinsons?
This Batman series is already looking sexy as fuck.
Selena Kyle's gonna be like, oh,
I know.
jackpot.
Right. It's Twilight all over again, except two of the good guy.
Two Edwards?
Yeah, two Edwards.
Wow.
Oh, that's what you get for Robin. All right, guys, that is the Nerd 2 podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Title honor.
I was lost. Like, Kristen Stewart?
I don't hate that either. No, let's keep them separate. They've had their issues off screen. But Aaron, thank you for joining me for this podcast. It was a fun one to talk about. A lot of good trailers. We're excited for the rest of this week, man. We've got Dune coming up, so you guys can stay tuned for our spoiler discussion. We'll be dropping that. It's gonna be a hell of a weekend, man.
You know what would be a terrible island? Woody Allen Island. Damn, we were making some good points in that video. Hey guys, Aaron and Nerd Suit Monkey here. Before we end this video, I want to give a quick shout out to our Patreon supporters. What can I say about you guys that I haven't already said about myself? You are the most important part of the channel and the main reason we keep going strong. Like Bo says, you keep the lights on in the fridge so the fridge is full. Or something like that. So, from everyone here at Nerd Soup, I'd like to thank you guys for your continued support. If you're interested in joining the ranks of our Patreon supporters, head over to patreon.com/nerdsoup and check out the rewards we offer to our patrons. We recently dropped some new stickers for you guys to check out, or you can choose a tier that will allow you to select a movie, show, or video game for us to review. We've got a full slate of fan-suggested reviews coming your way, and we're really excited about the chance to review some of those movies and shows. We've also got t-shirts, mugs, behind-the-scenes videos showing how we bring our videos to life. And once again, thank you to all our Patreon pledgers who have been supporting us throughout the years. Without you, we wouldn't be able to convert all your pledges into cryptocurrency. So, thank you from my future self for making us rich.
Make more family fun for less at Target. Try cheesy crispy Ritz cheese crispers.
There's something haunting and beautiful to me about abandoned places. Empty churches, the ruins of collapsed cathedrals, and in what remains of Edith Finch, an old abandoned family home. Places that tell stories. You can see the imprints of the past people have left behind, consciously and unconsciously, that tell us what this place meant to them, the secrets they kept, even why they abandoned it. If you go now to the town of Pripyat, you won't find anyone living there. You'll find 15 primary schools with rooms like these, strewn with pages of textbooks with nobody to read them. There was a theatre, an amusement park, 15 kindergartens, and just as many factories as there were secondary schools. You'll find towering apartment blocks of patterns stacked high over and over. They weren't rich in Pripyat. They were workers. You'll find marks on the walls to record how tall their children were, unwashed dishes that they were too tired to clean, lines of shoes that visitors took off when they entered the house. Move just 20 kilometers down the road and you'll find the village of Zalicia, where there are balls and dolls that children used to play with outside. People lived here, normal lives like you and me. They didn't have the same amenities as we do, but they had the same hopes, the same love for their families and their homes even. You can see it ingrained into the village, but you won't find anyone living there.
Внимание, никто. Уважаемые товарищи, городской совет народным депутатам сообщает, что в связи с аварией на Чернобыльской атомной электростанции в городе Припяти складывается неблагоприятная радиационная обстановка.
In 1986, at 1:23 in the morning, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant exploded and began pumping lethal radiation into the air.
It's now clear that the Soviet Union has suffered one of the worst disasters in the history of nuclear power.
The first word that something was seriously wrong came from this power plant in eastern
As
Sweden.
the cloud of radiation grows, so too does anxiety throughout Europe.
It took Communist Party officials 36 hours to order the evacuation, and another 6 to actually start getting people out. The thousands of people that lived in Pripyat and Zalicia were told to only take their documents and some food. No time to pack up the rest of your life, just go. Not even the landscape, the trees and animals could escape that suddenness, that unearthly eruption. The whole place now is covered in the red forest, named for how the radiation killed the trees for miles around the power plant, leaving them with a signature red hue. I mean, there's really not a more perfect metaphor, is there, for these kinds of places that can't help but soak up the past in a way we can see, in a way we can feel, even today. In What Remains of Edith Finch, the house is uncomfortably saturated with the past. Every inch of its walls are covered with photos of people and memories. When you walk up the stairs, you'll see this broken part of the balustrade overlooking the first floor. Looking at it, you know someone fell there some time before, and you're left wondering how. An accident, maybe, a fight, perhaps they were pushed. But the past has left this scar on the house that tells a story of its own. Maybe you never get the full story, but you get the questions and fragments of the answers. Before you ever reach the house in the first place, you find these old faded papers about a missing boy, Milton. Dozens of them just scattered to the wind. And then you find his letterbox, and it's empty. Everyone gave up looking after a while. The rooms of your dead relatives, who all met their own grisly ends, have been sealed up with these great metal bars, the edges glued down so that not even the air can escape. But there are peepholes too, so you can look into the past as it was, frozen in time almost. Like the red forest of Chernobyl, the walls might as well have been dyed red with Finch blood for all they've suffered. And as you walk through this house, without ever meeting a single one of them, you look around and you start to understand this family, that they're weighed down by the baggage of their past, and in time, it broke the family apart, unable to stay, unable to move on. Edith Finch is one of a small genre of games that is sometimes unkindly called walking simulators. And yes, there is a lot of walking involved a lot of the time, but these games really capture that feeling of wonder and intimacy that I get from these places. Oftentimes, the setup for these stories is that you arrive in an abandoned place and have to find out why it is the way it is. What happened? Who were these people? And in their absence, it asks you to do that by relating to your environment around you. In Everybody's Gone to the Rapture, you arrive in a small English countryside village after, well, everybody's just upped and vanished and you have no idea why. It's there in the title. In Gone Home, you expect to return home to a loving family, only to find it completely abandoned. In Tacoma, you're investigating a seemingly abandoned spaceship in hopes of uncovering the truth about what happened here. Ray Bradbury's short story, There Will Come Soft Rain, speaks to the powerful stories that abandoned places can tell.
The entire west face of the house was black, save for 5 places. Here, the silhouette and paint of a man mowing the lawn. Here, as in a photograph, a woman bent to pick flowers. Still further over, their images burned on wood in one titanic instant, a small boy, hands flung into the air. Higher up, the image of a thrown ball, and opposite him, a girl, hands raised to catch a ball which never came down. The 5 spots of paint, the man, the woman, the children, the ball, remained. The rest was a thin charcoal layer.
You can just feel the absolute emptiness of this house. The nuclear blast has destroyed the city, its people, and the house is the only thing left to tell their story. And I think part of the reason that these stories capture that feeling for me so well is that they understand how powerful experiencing these places alone can be. Just wandering in solitude without a tourist guide or a school class or a carefully planned guided path. It becomes purely your experience, nobody else's. something that's rarer than you might think for a lot of people. I know it is for me. And it's not just in the sense that these games are nearly always single player. It's rare to see other people in these games at all. If you do, then they're still and unmoving, not truly alive like you are. Or in Tacoma, they're just projections of the past that aren't aware of your existence. They're inhuman, because these places are profoundly intimate. You're looking into the nooks and crannies of other people's lives without them even knowing. It's just you and the walls or the town or the ruins. In these games, not only is there nobody to stop you from sneaking into rooms that were locked away, climbing over fences that say do not enter, but you're encouraged to read poems scrawled on the walls of closets in people's rooms, to read journals hidden under the floorboards. Where before these places were divided up by people, hidden like people guard their secrets and their private lives, they're all just open to you now, almost vulnerable. It's like the space can open up to you without other people getting in the way, that you can experience these imprints of the past honestly. The closest thing to describe it is that you're being let in on this precious secret that almost nobody else gets to see. But the weird thing is, humans have always believed in the personally transformative power of connecting with a physical space, especially empty and abandoned places. Our old myths are full of sacred sites that had power long before we ever found them, that violating them would end in death and destruction, but also that just being around them, meditating alone with them, just listening to them, can be genuinely enlightening. In Norse mythology, Odin didn't become wise by talking with Mimir, the wisest of the Aesir, but by drinking from his well, communing with a physical place that transformed him into the All-Father. When the Buddha attained enlightenment, he did so under the gaze of the Mahabodhi tree, that it supports the weight of enlightenment and connects you to the stars and rest of the world, fostering your growth. Anthropologist Keith Busso discusses the power of places in indigenous stories in his book, Wisdom Sits in Spaces.
Places possess a marked capacity for triggering acts of self-reflection, inspiring thoughts about who one presently is, or memories of who one used to be, or musings on who one might become. The experience of sensing places, then, is both thoroughly reciprocal and incorrigibly dynamic. When places are actively sensed, the physical landscape becomes wedded to the landscape of the mind, to the roving imagination.
When Busso describes these places as reciprocal, it's easy to understand why. In Odin's story, the space doesn't just transform him by giving him understanding and knowledge, but it takes his eye from him. That we leave part of ourselves in our environments as much as we take these places with us, that we incorporate them into our sense of self. Changing as a person is just as much about cutting parts of ourselves away as it is finding new ones. After all, we can see what the people of Pripyat left behind of themselves there. We can see what the Finch family left behind of themselves in their house. But this reciprocal power isn't restricted to the natural world. We've come to believe this about man-made places too. Temples and holy sites, even haunted houses, are all places where communing with a physical space can reveal the truth about ourselves or the world or the past. But for me, abandoned places do the same. They force me to think about who these people were, and from that, who the hell am I, and from that, what are we leaving behind? I've read a lot of books over the last year, but I haven't been able to stop thinking about Jeff Vandermeer's Annihilation. It stayed with me this whole time, always in the back of my mind, just ticking away, and I think I might finally know why. It's a story about this profound connection with an abandoned space, being transformed by it, being colonized by it.
I understood why no one lived in Area X now, that it was pristine because of that reason, but I kept on remembering it. We did not know what had happened here, what was still happening. With nothing left to anchor me, I needed to be here.
The main character constantly reflects on this abandoned place around her, and those reflections cause her to understand herself differently, to deconstruct what it means to be herself. The story repeatedly refers back to this pool she had when she was younger that she loved to watch, that had been left so long and had been transformed into a little world of algae and fish and creatures all of its own. She thinks about how all of that life is interconnected, that the lines between life blurred, and that it only became possible because humans abandoned the pool. And the same happened to Area X. After all, when humans inhabit places, we do our best to keep strict lines between dichotomies, the natural and unnatural, the inside and outside, the living and dead. And yet now, even the line between herself and the world around her begins to blur. And Annihilation understood that experiencing these places is most profound when you do it alone. Even though there are other characters around her in Annihilation, we never learn any of their names. They are the biologist, the surveyor, the anthropologist, and the psychologist. Much like the statues of the people that we meet in What Remains of Edith Finch, these are impersonal, dehumanized. We rarely get to know anything about the other characters because this isn't a story about characters relating to each other, but how one character relates to the world around her, how it transforms her.
The beauty of it cannot be understood either, and when you see beauty in desolation, it changes something inside you. Desolation tries to colonize you.
When I'm alone, I find it so much easier to take in the world around me, to let those lines blur and let it affect me, to be colonized by the things it wants me to feel and understand. Abandoned places are also often spaces of desolation. Chernobyl's nuclear breakdown, Pompeii's volcanic demise, the village of Yalton's sudden disappearance. It's mesmerizing to see humanity's greatest efforts to bend the world to our will just be done away with. Nuclear power plants, whole cities, spaceships in the sky, give it 50 years and the world forgets us all. There's a poem by Sarah Teasdale called There Will Come Soft Rains, and yes, it has the same title for a reason, that I think is really worth reading here.
There will come soft rains, and the smell of the ground, and swallows circling with their shimmering sound, and frogs in the pools singing at night, and wild plum trees in tremulous white. Robins will wear their feathery fire, whistling their winds on a low fence wire. And not one will know of the war, not one will care at last when it is done. Not one would mind neither bird nor tree, if mankind perished utterly. And spring herself, when she woke at dawn, would scarcely know that we were gone.
Just like said in Annihilation, that desolation colonizes. It makes you feel small because give it 50 years and spring herself will scarcely know we were ever there. The desolation is a reminder of our own impermanence, and that just as we abandon these places, they too will abandon us without a second thought. Now, not all of the games in this genre I've been talking about feature this kind of natural disaster, forcing us to abandon this place. But there is always the desolation, just of a different kind. In What Remains of Edith Finch and Gone Home, it's the desolation left behind by a fractured family. Boxes packed, but never taken. Dishes used, but never washed. Windows dropped, glasses smashed. All because they couldn't get away from the place quick enough. And you feel that, the weight of it, the baggage, the pain when you walk through these places just the same as you do in Chernobyl. And given how drawn we are to places that tell stories, it's no surprise that we return to ones of desolation over and over again. You can see the imprints of the past in the world around you no matter where you go. But abandoned places of desolation tell dramatic stories about heroes and disaster and death and pain. We make TV shows about it. Places like this have such intense experiential dimensions. Immersing yourself in them is deeply moving. Desolation has a sense of permanence to it too, a state of complete emptiness or destruction. It's irreversible, it's undeniable, it's unforgettable. Even if we tried to pave over what happened at Chernobyl, the radiation is still in the water, it's still in the trees, it's still in the earth. Its most irradiated areas will remain that way for 20,000 years. The land itself will never forget. It will always tell that story. It feels like when humanity is long gone, whatever comes next won't find our triumphs or glories. All anyone will be able to find of us will be the desolation we left behind, because it lasts. House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski is one of the most intoxicating books I've ever read. That's really the only word I have for it in all of its connotations. In it, the Neverton family moves into the house on Ash Tree Lane in hopes of starting anew, only to find that the house itself shifts and changes around them. A closet appears, then the house is somehow just a quarter of an inch bigger on the inside. Then they find the hallway. Sometimes it's miles long, and the staircase that descends into the deep nowhere.
When revisiting places we once frequented as children, it is not unusual to observe how much smaller everything seems. Knowledge is hot water on wool. It shrinks space and time. Is it possible to think of that place as unshaped by human perceptions?
And I mean, it's true, isn't it? There's always the physical space, its dimensions and exact measurements in centimeters and inches, and then there's our experience of it, which might be similar, but it's always just a little off, a little different. In House of Leaves, Neverton becomes obsessed with navigating the hallway and stairs. He wants to understand them, to know them, to map them out in this strange attempt to control the house, to control the world around him. Fears of the unknown literally deepen the hallways, they lengthen the stairs, making the physical and experiential space one and the same. The book itself even mimics our understanding of the space in its typography, how it lays out its words. But this division between the physical and experiential space is something that we find in the real world too. Take a place that you know well and cover it in darkness. It becomes a foreign country, its shadows hide the unknown. Places have always been warped by our perception of them, but also by the stories we see in them. This happens everywhere we go, but I found it becomes even more intense in these abandoned places that have such visceral stories to tell. Both Edith Finch and Gone Home involve returning to an abandoned family home. But Edith Finch's house becomes more and more claustrophobic the more you learn about the tragedies this family has faced. The walls laden with memory begin to press in on you in ways that they didn't before, almost like it's shrinking around you, especially as you need to squeeze through smaller and smaller gaps to move around the house. It's no wonder that Edith tells you how she experienced the place right at the start. I was afraid of the house. It looks relatively normal, even homely to us at the beginning, and this feeling only creeps in as we hear the stories the place holds. The stories change the space for us. In contrast, the long hallways of Gone Home become more isolating the more you learn about how your younger sister came out but wasn't supported by her family, that this new place was unwelcoming to her. The walls don't press in on you like they do in the Finch house, but feel empty and isolating, almost like it's got a population in the negative, almost like they get bigger as the sense of alienation grows. Her hideout in the roof reminds us of all the things we hid from our parents. It's a refuge. Annihilation deals with this experiential space too. The characters begin arguing about whether a structure in this abandoned landscape is a tower or a tunnel, fighting for their perception to define the space.
Something about the idea of a tower that headed straight down played with a twinned sensation of vertigo and fascination with structure. I could not tell which part I craved and which I feared.
Where Chernobyl's empty apartment towers become these dark, tragic places of human failure that make us feel small, the same apartment towers in the ruins of Near Automata almost fill us with nostalgia for a time we never knew. Over and over, the stories they tell will change a space. You've probably heard of liminal spaces before, strange places that make you feel uncomfortable just by looking at them, and it's often because they're largely abandoned. Well, a lot of these places are the same. The very space is changed by our perception. If you're American, people will probably ask you, where were you when 9/11 happened? In my town, we ask you, where were you when the earthquake happened? The earthquake, as if it were the only one. I was at school, it was 2011, and I was here. The lunch bell had just rung, and I was underneath this concrete balcony. I was next to a brick wall with a glass staircase leading up to the school library. That was when I felt the world creaking. We'd actually already had another big earthquake just a few months before then, so we were used to them, even big ones. So we gathered on the field and we talked. It was just another day in Christchurch, wasn't it? Until word started spreading that buildings had collapsed in the city centre, that people were dead. We didn't know how many at the time, but the numbers started climbing. 10, 50, 100. Of course, when we look back at the desolation now, all these years later, we know how bad it truly was. We have the full picture. But it's hard to grasp the sheer horror of what it's like not knowing how bad it truly is in the moment. That what has happened has already happened, and what will happen cannot be stopped. For all we knew, it could have been thousands. New Zealand is a small place. Everyone knew someone who lost someone. The earthquake changed the city as much as it changed the people in it. And almost symbolically, like in a real-world disaster movie where the Statue of Liberty is toppled to represent the fall of the United States, the earthquake destroyed the steeple of the Christchurch Cathedral that had always been the city's icon. It's lying behind me now, still in ruins, still not fixed all these years later, because money problems and who should pay for it and how it should be fixed. But to me, it feels like the city is refusing to let go, that it can't let go, that the past is permanently a part of this place, and you can feel it. So it lies there, wounded, telling a story about what we lost. When you're here alone, when I'm here alone, you can hear that story. It affects you. You can't stop it affecting you, sticking with you, seeing the gaps that haven't been filled. You can see where people prayed and gathered. You can see the pieces of the rubble of lives that still haven't been picked up. Phrases like kia kaha, written on walls that mean stay strong, that speak to that unique sense of community we really had that only comes out of tragedy. Where Chernobyl makes me feel horror, Christchurch makes me feel loss. I'm left asking, when all you are crumbles away, how are you meant to rebuild yourself, your home, your sense of control? What are you meant to leave behind, and what are you meant to move on to? That's what this place wants me to feel. There is a hole in the middle of my city, both literally and figuratively. And you can come here, you can see it, you can feel it. You can go to the dead centre of one of the biggest cities in New Zealand and it will just be quiet, filled with imprints the past has left on this place. I can only say you should do it alone. Places of desolation always call into question everything we assume, everything we take for granted. Civilization feels like it's going to last forever, but here it is, wiped away in an instant. And because of that, desolation has a way of reminding us what truly matters. What you have, what you should cling to, what you should leave behind. Kia kaha, Christchurch, stay strong. Or in the wake of the 2019 Christchurch mosque shooting where 51 people were gunned down and we said, they are us. You can still see the memories of it. And always when you're alone, because that's all there is. Like Chernobyl and the Finch House and the village of Yalton and Area X, this place doesn't forget. And when you come here, it infects you with that story of melancholy and hope. I suppose the desolation has colonized me, and I'm there for it. Maybe it'll colonize you too.
really appreciate you doing this.
No.
I was told you're very nice people, and when I got off the first time, I was like, they don't seem like nice people to me at all.
Welcome to your mom's house.
This episode of Your Mom's House is brought to you by Satva. Go to satva.com/theshit to get $200 off your next order.
Boom.
How do you think his week's been since?
That's funny that you mentioned it. We actually know how it's yeah.
Man, I've been thinking about that guy all week and just his torment and how affected he was by people calling him daddy.
He doesn't know how good. That's the funny part. There's nothing bad about being called daddy.
No.
Daddy's a good thing.
He thinks it's so gay. It's just like the gays.
Yeah, it's not.
That's so gay, but it's not.
It's not so gay. I mean, I guess it could be, but it could be super straight too.
Yeah. But he said dudes are saying it.
Yeah.
I re-listened to it last week and he goes, but all these dudes are like, daddy la la. Go, no, come on, bro. I like girls. I like girls. And then the tears.
You know what that kid needs, honestly, if he wants to like kind of shift things up in his life?
Whoa! Wait a minute. Can you scratch your beard with it? What kind of glove is that? It looks formal.
It's an advanced, Everybody, by the way, we were wondering what would happen.
Yeah.
Everybody's hitting me up.
You're kidding.
Yeah, they're like, oh man, I like your lovely glove, or where can I get a glove? And I'm like,
Yeah. Well, we knew that would happen.
yeah, I know.
How's glove life been for you?
I mean, pretty cool, It's like, I imagine it's probably like what, I don't know, Coco Chanel went through. When she started wearing those glasses or whatever.
Well, she popularized the stripey shirt.
Yeah.
The fishermen were wearing.
So everybody's like,
yeah.
Hey, me too. You just feel like everyone's trying to copy style, but I get, I get it.
Now, is it hard going to the bathroom with the glove?
It can be. I threw a couple gloves away, I'm not gonna lie.
I figured as much. Because you are a righty wiper.
Yeah. And sometimes you're like, oh, that was all paper, and then you pull your glove up and realize it was a lot of gloves.
But then are you not thankful that you had the glove on in a way?
In a way, yeah.
Will you be making your promo posters with your hands now to show?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, they want to rebrand the rest of the tour.
What is it going to be called?
It's just going to be like,
Whoa, wait a minute. That's got a special fingertip on it.
yeah, so that I can do the show.
Wow. Because those look like gentlemen's gloves. Yeah. Those look like I was watching.
Gentlemen's driving gloves?
No, like I was watching Pride and Prejudice last night, and they like that era. I don't know, is it Victorian or whatever that is. Like Darcy would wear gloves like that.
Yeah. It's sort of. I guess I am kind of, but I'm kind of one of those legal type of guys.
Well, you certainly are.
Yeah.
Now, do you wear them when you're driving so that you drive faster? The children are a little concerned. Lots of questions.
Yeah.
Why is Daddy wearing
Mostly,
a glove?
what else has been asking me is, where's your other glove?
Yeah.
Why are you wearing one? And I'm like, you don't understand adult shit yet. You
That's
don't
true.
understand
Yeah.
fashion. You don't understand your dad's persona.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, whatever, dude.
And it's been interesting with our lovemaking. You don't take it off. It's been kind of special.
I mean, it's supposed to be gloves all the time.
Yep.
Yep.
Once you're in that glove life,
Yeah, you can't take it off.
you can't take it off.
No.
You're in the glove life.
And I've been accused, a lot of people have been like, oh, what about, it's Michael Jackson's thing.
No.
And I'm like, first of all, he's dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Secondly, it probably kept him from fucking so many boys.
Yes, it did. Get hands off. And you're on the way to glove to remind me I can't fuck boys.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
So I actually feel like I'm doing a service to society and telling society, don't fuck boys.
Yeah, what time is it? It's 7:15.
Yep.
Shit.
But his was all sparkly and not masculine, and yours is very masculine.
Yeah, mine's pretty masculine. I have some other ones. They're all women. I mean, you'll see them. I'm having a few cups more ready.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
It's really exciting. Huh?
You ready to open the show?
So ready. What do we got?
Here you go.
Hey, what's up, TikTok? It's Lalo Brown Breaker here. Look, I got a message for everybody, especially all the guys again, bro. Because I see on all my posts, you guys keep disrespecting me, bro. So I'm back again to tell you guys all a quick message, bro. Stop commenting daddy on my post, bro. I already told you multiple times, bro. I don't want to keep telling you over and over and over, bro. Stop. Stop.
Who was Randy?
Don't bring anyone love into this. Welcome to your mom's house with Tom Segura.
All right.
Welcome to your mom's house.
Just realized how nice it felt just for holding a beverage.
You're kidding.
Really nice.
How does it feel?
It's just like,
Damn.
you know, you don't have like that wet condensation.
Yeah. Or it's not too hot. It's
Yeah.
not too cold. It's just perfect.
It's kind of like the glove life is the right life, you know?
I think you found your life.
Yeah.
This guy is making me laugh because I don't know why I'm so amused at how upset he is. Like, why is it so?
Because it's not necessary to be that upset about it. That's why.
Stop commenting daddy under my post, you guys, please.
Please. And he's tearing up. Look
Yeah.
how fired up he is.
So,
His face is all red and he's got his fucking, he's like, oh, come on now, please.
see,
I'm not in jail, bro. You guys see I'm out here. I'm not in jail, bro. You guys see I'm out here.
You fucking cunt.
Holy shit. I feel like if I start this next drawing, I'm not gonna have enough time to finish it.
my glasses.
Why do I gotta keep telling you guys every single day, bro? Stop calling me daddy, stop calling me not going, stop telling me this, and now you guys are commenting, free Lalo, free Lalo. I'm not in jail, bro. You guys see I'm out here. I'm not in jail. Stop with all that. Stop.
Absolutely.
Commenting all that weird stuff under my post, bro. Stop. You're weird, bro. Stop. But all the other cool people, I want you guys have a good rest of your day, bro. Much love.
That's the best. But he does the flip.
Yeah.
Or, you could do to stop the comments,
What?
stop making new videos.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Oh,
He doesn't realize that. I kind of feel bad for him now, though.
and now it's getting sad.
Yeah, because he's too upset. It's funny that he's like somewhat upset. But now that he's moved his fears, I mean, it's so silly. That's the thing is that they're not actually doing anything really bad. They're just like, what's up, daddy?
Well, then what's free Lola? Is it like free you to be gay? Like free your gayness, Lola?
No, they're just, like you just free him. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
he's locked up.
He's like, I'm not in jail, bro. I'm free.
You guys have a good rest of your day, bro. Stop calling me daddy.
But I like that he feels, is it guilt for his rage? Or he has a moment where he realizes how it must be a moment of like, hey, this is absurd. I need to also wish the people that like me a good day. Otherwise,
Well,
I will lose those viewers.
Yeah, he's aware of his audience. He's aware that you can't just, like, flamethrow the whole audience. So it's like, here's everybody that I'm pissed at.
Yeah.
Just decide that some of you are cool. You know?
Much love.
This feels like it's ruining his life. Man.
It's ruining his life. It's taking
I
over.
didn't know that it was to this point. Like and we're definitely not helping.
We're not. We're not helping. But haven't you ever had that where you carry it for days? Like I get dialed into stupid things too.
Yeah.
And I get like into beefs that aren't really real.
Of course, because
It's
you
like-
realize the older you get that like everything, all that stuff, it's all in your mind.
Yeah.
Everything.
Everything.
This is in his head. Like it's all perspective. I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like you could just be like, I love being called daddy, or you just tell yourself that. If you tell himself that when somebody writes daddy, they're telling him you're hot or you're cool, and he was just like,
Yeah.
it's all perspective.
Just let it go.
Yeah. So it's just that he can't let go that it means like to him, it's an accusation that he doesn't want to be. Yeah. But they're clearly you're not calling him that.
No, he hears that. Though.
He's hearing that. Right.
He
So I'm saying
hears
it's
that.
in your head.
Yeah.
You're not gay daddy about
You're not. And you can tell you like girls a lot. He's very passionate.
You know what you need to do? You need to do some videos with some girls.
Now you're talking. Yeah.
And they should be like, ooh, daddy, the whole time.
See, I told you, I'm not no fucking maricon. And then he's like, got these bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, he needs to take it to
But he
another
might be
level.
he might be from a household where like that is talked about. You know
For
what I mean?
sure. For sure. I'm trying to think of stuff that upsets me to that level.
So somebody like a parent could be like, hey Nico, let me see your TikTok comments.
Yeah. Hey, what's this shit, this fucking
Yeah.
bullshit here?
Like everybody calling you daddy, huh? You out there chupapinga todo el día?
Dude, that's exactly what's happening.
Yeah.
Like his cousin or somebody saw it. He's like, man, my fucking cousin Danny and Downey saw this shit. And he's like, what the fuck is up with this? It's his cousin that saw it, bro. That's
So
what it is. Some vato and some fucking.
Oh, this gay bullshit out here, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his gangbanger cousin that saw it. And is like,
Stop calling me daddy.
yeah. Yeah.
Much love.
He's got a shout out. Yeah.
You gotta protect the rest of the base.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So amazing. Poor daddy loves him. Guys, stop calling.
Seriously.
Stop calling him daddy.
Stop it.
How's you've been gone so much lately. You've been gone.
This has not even gone a lot.
Really?
No.
What do you mean?
It's gonna be much more gone.
It's gonna get way goner?
Way goner.
So crazy because right now I feel like I haven't seen you since last week since we recorded this show.
Yeah, I left. When did I leave?
I don't remember.
No, I left Friday. What are you
Blur.
talking about?
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I left Friday for Vegas.
Vegas?
Oh, it's because you left before that.
I went to
That's why.
Indianapolis and I'll be in Monver, Colorado this week. And the tickets are probably all gone. It's
Okay.
going fast.
Where you going?
We have some shows. Comedy Works.
Downtown?
Comedy Works. Yes, it does.
You lucky dog.
It's the best. I cannot wait. I can't frickin' wait.
It is such
Comedy Works. Yes,
an
it does.
amazing fucking
Comedy and
club.
prayer. And then I do, before that, the Velveeta Room the night before.
Mhm.
Yeah, bro. And then I do Raleigh, Charlie Goodnights, one night only, November 4th. Atlanta, the Punchline, November 19th through 20th. Wise Guys, Salt Lake City Food Hall.
And that's Thanksgiving weekend.
That's the best time to leave your family.
It is.
And then the LOL Comedy Club in San Antonio, December 9th through 11th.
Ow, wow, wow.
And then Orlando, Florida, December 16th through 18th.
Great.
I can't wait. I can't wait. What a weird tour. This tour was like all the states that I could book gigs in this time last year.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been like a Republican tour. It's been pretty funny. Like a conservative. They've been great.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm not saying actually
Right, but it's all
way
places.
cool.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's, yeah, like these conservative
Markets,
cities, which
yeah.
is so funny. And
Well, like, which
I'm
way?
loving it.
What's the with the
Well,
Indianapolis?
Indianapolis, Des Moines,
Yeah.
Oklahoma City.
It's kind of the city is a little mixed.
Yeah.
There's blue voters. I mean, it's a red state for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Predominantly.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I said, I don't care. I think it's great. It's been fun. But anyway, I haven't seen you Ellis's room, and I had this
All right.
because I was like,
I think we'll stop there just because I'm kind of out of time. I don't want to get started on anything and then
another spare room, and you
have it be,
and I thought to
you know,
myself,
unfinished to the point where it's going to be hard to pick up. At least this way, it's like, okay, this part is done. Now I just got to jump in and start rendering it out. But yeah, man, this is
never point, never. The only
super
time
cool,
I
man.
point was something
I basically just took this because the way it looked was something like a diamond pattern thing almost going on. And I was like, well, what if it was braids? So just kind of braiding the hair, loop it around, include the ribbon into the braid.
a bedroom that's like,
And then that's how that becomes a part of the hair that way, which is super cool.
and so it goes.
Anybody who watched that movie Tangled, something like that was done with her hair. So, you know, at the end of the movie when it was braided with flowers and all that other stuff. So it's just taking that idea and then making it work there. Because, I mean, unless it's just like a knitted sweatband, you know what I mean? It's not really all that all that cool. But at least this way you have like this cool diamond pattern going on.
When you go down.
Yeah.
And
shit like that in there, a lot of taxidermied animals.
yeah, man.
It's just I'm dark. You know what I realized? The older I get, like I'm dark-sided. I just like it, and I've been trying to
Let's
do more my entire life.
let's
and
call it at
it's
that.
been a struggle to try to be.
So I'm G Mr. Drew. It's at G Mr. Drew on all socials. Follow, like, and subscribe. Any and all support is appreciated. Those links are in my bio. Check them out, along with my website, gmrdrew.art. If you want, you can contact me through there. And yeah, man, just look at all the work I've done over the years. And other than that, yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching the videos. And yeah, I'll be back tomorrow, man. Love y'all. Peace.